Welcome to Hey, I'm Listening. I'm your host, Dr. Joan. We are tapping into the memory of the African soul. So many of us have been born in this time to shift the Black approach to life, the African approach to life. Mental health, education, community, and spirituality. All of them are going to shift simply because we are here. So we are speaking to the community builders, the thought leaders, and world changers of the African community. They are telling us their stories of healing and of transformation. And today I have a wonderful guest before us. His name is Jeffrey Saah. Welcome to the show, Jeffrey.
Thank you. Thank you, Joan, for having me.
So Jeffrey is a good friend of mine. He is a new dad. How old is the baby, Jeffrey?
She is about 3 months.
Wonderful. And you are passionate about holistic nutrition. You are a nutrition coach, and you are the founder of an organization called Light Body Wellbeing. I just love that name. And you're helping people in the community overcome things like diabetes. You're helping children who are experiencing mental illness and cognitive issues. And it sounds like there is just so much that you are building and involved with, Jeffrey. So it's wonderful to have you here with me.
Awesome. Thank you.
So Jeffrey, I know that there are a lot of things that get you out of bed, and I've just talked about some of those things, but what are you most passionate about?
I'm most passionate about health, actually.
Yes.
Not just health in the way we hear about it in the trend in the media, but
Yes.
really just knowing that we can actually be youthful, that we can actually feel energized, feel strong, and
Yes.
that we can actually have a peace of mind. So yeah, and I'm passionate about teaching those principles, learning about it on one end, and then teaching it to those who can benefit.
So what's your story? I mean, how did you even get into this? Like, what was kind of like the motivator, or that, like how we all have that burn, that
Yeah.
stirs us. So like, what was the burn for you?
So for me, I think it kind of came in waves. The first wave was in grade 7. I used to have headaches every other day, right? Or every day. Headaches slash migraines. I would take Tylenols, nothing would work. My parents were really concerned. This went on for months and months. And finally, my parents took me to a naturopath. He gave me a detox kit, right? Looking back now, I learned that it was a herbal detox kit. So I take this detox kit, and right after that point, till now, many years later, I haven't had headaches, right? I may have my one headache a year kind of thing, but no headaches. So I think that kind of was like a subconscious thing in my brain, because
Yes.
2 years later in grade 9, I remember watching infomercials of this man who was selling a book on natural cures.
Yeah.
Right? Natural cures, what they don't want you to know. Actually, I think
Yes.
Kevin Trudeau was his name. And for some reason, I would literally wake up late at night. I think maybe around 1 a.m. just to watch this infomercial.
Yeah.
Night after night after night, right? Or week after week, whenever it would come on. And then since then, in high school, I started to subscribe to newsletters from
Yes.
different holistic health organizations and
Yeah.
doctors. And I just became kind of obsessed with researching health,
Yeah.
researching, all these various topics in health. And
Yes.
I just continued until I went to, I did my Bachelor of Science and did biology and holistic nutrition at the Canadian School of Nutrition. And that's kind of the wave upon the waves that built
Yes.
to
Yes.
where I am now.
That's awesome. So, you're here and you're working through all of this stuff in this progressive way. And so now you're seeing things like some of the, key health issues that are, kind of complications. And so you've selected diabetes as kind of like that pivotal place where you're going to sit. And it's kind of like diabetes, we can claim it as the inflammation disease, right? Because that's what it is. It's just an inflamed body. Like, I mean, you can almost imagine your body being on fire with diabetes. So, what made you go there, first of all, and what are you hoping to impact as you build our community and support them in overcoming this?
Okay. Why I chose diabetes is because I see it as kind of like a hallmark disease, or like a disease where so many things intersect in
Yes.
terms of the different sources of inflammation, whether it be sugar, whether
Yes.
it be excess iron, whether it be so many different things, and it kind of just crisscrosses at diabetes. Diabetes really looks at the overall metabolism of the body, and
Yes.
that right there, everybody has a metabolism. Everybody can, in some way, suffer from the effects of diabetes. The only thing is that with diabetes, we cap it and we call this number, is
Yeah.
diabetes. This number to this number is pre-diabetes, et cetera, et cetera. But
Yes.
it's really just a long line that can be stopped at any point.
Yes.
Another reason why I chose diabetes is because I was surprised, pleasantly surprised with some of my clients and the kind of the reversals that they experienced.
Yes.
With one of my clients, he had reversals in his eye health, so he started to regain sight. And to be honest, he came to me because he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to renew his license. And
Wow.
then eventually he was able to build up his eyesight. And also, things like, the burning feet and the numbness and tingling, all those reversed in such a short time. So I
Wow.
said, if this right here, which can cause so many issues with people, whether it be blindness or whether it be, gangrene or amputations, or whether it be any kind of all these various health issues, if this
Yes.
can be helped, then, I got to take what I've learned, which is kind of like holistic, which is kind of global, and then
Yes.
take all those points and then see how I can impact people with the condition.
That's amazing. And there's such a nutrition side to it all. A huge factor is nutrition. And then, of course, I'm in the realm of trauma, and that as we are traumatized, our bodies can shift in certain ways as well. And then stressors upon stressors can then also lead to the poor health and then the degeneration of the various organs that really maintain the insulin levels and the balance within the body. So as you think about our community, as you think about the African community, are we experiencing this at a whole different level than anyone else?
I think so. There's in the mainstream, they always say that, African Americans are predisposed to diabetes and the complications that it comes with.
Yeah.
And it's funny because today, while driving, I was thinking about that. And I said, no, that's not true. There's no predisposition genetically to any kind of
Yeah.
disease, right? Especially if you're talking about people who, um, culturally and also historically had very strong health,
Yeah.
very, very strong immune systems, and, everything from, the vitality of the African people.
Yes.
So, to go back to your question, um, I think that what's really happening with us is that a lot of us have adopted, these diets and
Mm.
adopted these living standards and the stress and the emotional trauma.
Mm-hmm.
It's created this whole big pot of issues, especially when you're now eating emotionally, and all those foods are bad foods. So that right there could also contribute. And I hope I answered your question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're noticing kind of, the co-opting, like there's so much that has been co-opted from us, right? And I want to talk about the things that have been co-opted, particularly about Black fathers, but the co-opting even of the diet, and and the replacement that has come as part of our historical, transition into the Americas, let's say it that way. And through the slave, the enslavement of our ancestors, and now I guess the de-enslavement, but then all of those things kind of epigenetically like coming forward. And so, as you think about the co-opting and as you think about kind of like the imposition of a whole different diet that is all about coping with, the traumatic moments that we experience, kind of like as a super consciousness, but then also the micro consciousness in our own families. Like what's happening to us, like on that kind of level, when you talk about the diet, like where are we?
Oh, that's a wonderful question, Joan. One way I'd like to answer that question is to talk about the gut microbiome.
Yes.
We know that every culture in different parts of the world has their own particular microbiome, right? So, whether it be Europe, China, India, Africa, I mean, there'll be similarities, but when you eat your foods in that location, you're going to have a particular microbiome. And that microbiome, those bacteria are going to make certain chemicals which will affect your brain, your culture, right? How you feel, how you think, how you interact with your community.
Yeah.
So with this imposition of this diet, it's really an imposition of switching the mindset of the people.
Right.
So when Africans take on this standard American diet, which is really just, I won't even say it's a European diet. It's really an artificial, degenerated diet, of degenerated foods. But we take on this diet, we reflect that. And some good examples are like palm oil, for instance, right?
Yeah.
So palm oil is an extremely healthy oil, which a lot of people may argue against. Bruce Fife, in his book, The Palm Oil Miracle, came up with a lot of proof, a lot of studies that support that. But palm oil, right now, many Ghanaians, although they traditionally grew up eating palm oil and still do, they would say don't eat palm oil in the winter because when you put palm oil in the fridge, whatever, it gets solid. So in their minds, in the winter, it's going to get solid in your arteries and give you a. But if you take palm oil and you put it in your hand, it's going to melt.
That's right, because the body temperature is
temperature.
Like, yeah.
So this backward science that was passed on from some guy and continued through the country, not only did it, in some way push aside the palm oil industry, which could have been really thriving just like it is in Malaysia.
Yes.
But it also made us kind of, take up more of the artificial oils like the corn oil and the safflower and the canola. And a lot of these are the oils that we're using now.
Right.
That's actually leading to the diabetes, the insulin resistance, and the destruction of the arteries. So one example of, Western imposition. And then, of course, the Western medication will come and say, oh, this is the remedy. So it's like a layer upon a layer of attack. And of course, there's many other things in the diet that we've taken on that will affect the microbiome, which then would affect how we think, how we act. And
Wow. So even as I think about that, and it's such a good example of taking something that is quite natural and the gut as you're talking about it. And so the food corresponds with the gut and the microbes that are in the gut. But now if you whether you transport the person out or you just take away whatever has come natural to them that provides that, now all of a sudden the person's out and they're out of balance from this thing that would actually have kept them healthy, thinking, because we always have to buy into the story, thinking, well, their way is better, right?
Yeah.
So I want to talk to you about what it's like to be a dad and, the way of the African. And when I say that, I kind of believe there's a soulish way of being a father that has nothing to do per se with the territory of Africa that we might be from or live in, but has everything to do with the substance of who we are, as people who are born with this melanated skin, and that there's this soulish part of us that allows us to operate in our families different than what we've been forced to believe that this family should look like. So talk to me about what it's like to be a dad, and are there difficulties when you try to like be a dad and trying to shift between the African as well as, this North American place where you've been born into?
Okay, let me try to answer that question. Well, I was born here,
Yeah.
and of course, my parents were born in Ghana, and there's some, little bits of culture that was passed on.
Yeah.
I wish the language was really passed on, and
Mm.
unfortunately, a lot of that gets lost because of what you just said about, this is better than, English is better than tree, so let's dump our language and take this language.
Yes.
But getting back to your question, in terms of being a father and how I try to navigate, in terms of culture and being of African descent,
Yeah.
it's I'm just beginning. My baby's 3 months. In terms of even in those 3 months, or the thoughts that I have for her include things like passing on culture. So
Yeah.
whether it be through music,
Yeah.
there's a lot of things I want to do to allow her to get in touch with her emotions through music,
Yeah.
through dance,
Yeah.
definitely through, if she can learn the language, maybe from my mom or somehow, some way.
Yeah.
Um, Another thing I would say too, in terms of how the African culture is put in terms of the family life,
Yeah.
is even small things like a day name. So she being born on a Tuesday would have the Tuesday day name, which is Abena.
Yeah.
That may be a small little token thing,
Yeah.
but it could still kind of play in maybe when she grows up.
Right.
You know, um, yeah, I really want to pass more on, but for now,
It's
uh,
a process, right?
it's the
And
process.
it,
Yeah.
one of the things that I think is so key as you become a dad, then the question is, well, who showed you the example of what that dad should be? Are we kind of stuck in this in between phase of the return? Because the thing is, we have left, and in a lot of ways, we left in the soulish way as well. And now we return, and it has to be a return of that deep, deep soulish way of connecting with Creator, connecting and knowing what our role is. So, one of the things I talk about, with the African or the melanated dad is that I really see the dad as the nurturer, right? So in our society that we've grown up in, Canada and the United States, wherever the supreme white knowledge is, we're always sent the message that the woman is the nurturer because she has the breast, right? And the milk. And so the nurturing is thought to come from there. But nurturing is so much more than provision of just the thing that sustains us physically. The mother has to touch, the mother has to draw the child in, the mother has to be willing to feed. And I actually think that when we look at the dad, that the dad is the nurturer in a whole different way, that if it is absent, then as a culture, as a nation, we are depleted of that thing, and the sustaining force that actually helps us to think about ourselves, know where it is that we should be heading, it kind of is totally obliterated. So what was your experience like with your dad, and how does that impact how you even try to navigate being a parent yourself?
My experience with my dad, um, the main memories I have is of him working,
Hmm.
right? Working. You
Yeah.
know, um, in kind of fast forwarding for a bit, conversations I would have with him, he would tell me kind of his story, and he would tell me how, at a young age, about 20 something, he left Ghana,
Hmm.
trying with the dream of coming to America, and he would And then he went to Nigeria, and then he went to Egypt, and he went to Greece, then he went to Israel.
Wow.
And then went to finally made it to Canada after 4 years.
Yeah.
And at that time, he knew my mom, so he kept in touch with letters, and I'm like, "Whoa, this is a movie."
Right.
So him making it here, and then bringing my mom, and then and then bringing his siblings and my mom's siblings. From what I see with my dad, is that he's always just been a worker, right? He's always been pushing to open up this door, and I guess help, whether intentionally, mix of intentionally and mix of unintentionally, helping others to make it through. So as a kid, my dad was a trucker, and he would work extreme hours. He would wake up sometimes 3, 4 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
and come back home around maybe 8, 9, 10 p.m.
Right.
Even, sore, swelling knees, arthritis. He'd be kind of almost crawling down the stairs just to make it to work. So my main, in that area, in terms of my memory, a lot of work. In terms of the emotional connection, that's where it was a challenge for him. I could see that's where he struggled. He didn't know how to, show those emotions of, when I say of love, you can say, or of joy in some way.
Yeah.
It was more just about, the instructions, like, okay, make sure your school is good, make sure your grades are good.
Yeah.
And of course, it's all understandable now. But at the same time, I do remember him making those efforts and, gathering us together, discussing things with us.
Yeah.
Going to the gym together, going to different places together. So most of my memory is kind of foggy, but I just remember. I'll share one little memory with you that I always tell this little story here.
Yeah.
I had a bike in my old neighborhood, and the older boys, kind of bullied us a little bit.
Yeah.
So one of them took my bike and just decided to ride it. He said he'd be back, but he rode it for the whole day. So it's late at night, 8 p.m., 9 p.m. It's dark, and I'm looking for this person who has my bike.
Yeah.
I can't see faces. I can only see the frame of my bike and think that, okay, that might be the person.
Yes.
So I'm looking, and I'm walking around. Where's my bike? And then I see somebody with the frame of my bike.
Yeah.
I'm like, this person might have my bike. And this person looks kind of big, kind of chubby a little bit. The person keeps pedaling towards me. Then I notice that is my dad. He got my bike back. That was a pretty cool moment for me. Like, oh wow.
Right.
Yeah. So
he took the time did he recognize how anxious you were and worried you were? And then did he take it upon himself to actually go look and then
I don't even think he knew I lost my bike.
Oh.
I don't remember even telling him. I remember being afraid that if I told him, I'd be in trouble.
Right.
That's what I remember. So when I saw him with it,
Right. So he's probably coming from wherever he's coming from, and he realizes, hey, somebody has my kid's bike. And by the way, kid, you're going to get off that bike and I'm going to ride that bike home. I love it, right? I love it. Yeah. So, as you think about our Black fathers, where do you feel like we're stuck? Where do you feel like we're stuck? We want to get to that ultimate place where the Black father plays his part, where it's not just about surviving anymore. It's not just about providing anymore, but it's about giving us a place of belonging. It's about even just recognizing, we don't need to stream out of all of the places that we live in to come to white Mecca simply because the land over here seems more plenty. One of the things that I am so desiring is to actually return to Jamaica. And I could return tomorrow if I really wanted to, but there's some work for me to do. And I think there's a building process that needs to happen for others of us who were pulled out of our environment because our parents thought, white Mecca is just wonderful. And so let's go there. But I think now it's for us to almost return into these territories that we've been taken out of and build in our own territories, as opposed to just constantly streaming out and creating these lives of hardship that really is just about surviving, financially. So where do you think we're stuck?
Yeah, you just mentioned something. You mentioned in terms of the whole, us leaving our own hometown, coming to the West. And I see it connected to what you're just asking about where we're stuck. I think where we're stuck is we don't value or we don't think we're good enough,
Yeah.
right? We don't think we're good enough, so we leave. Obviously, a country would have issues, so we leave the country.
Yeah.
Or in some cases, subconsciously, we leave the family,
Yeah.
right? So to me, I think that, first of all, it varies so much. So I find that, people, Black men whose fathers left them when they were young they kind of have that, in some ways, that wiring or that trauma that makes them in some way see it as normal.
Yeah.
My dad was there. For me, I would say the same, although my dad was there, the same feelings of maybe inadequacy still played on with him. And I think for us fathers, us Afro-Caribbean fathers, our whole thing is, how do we get to feel better about ourselves? Sometimes we look towards, our woman, right? Obviously that's the first go-to. And for a lot of us, it's like, she won't accept me because I don't have the latest gear.
Yeah.
I don't have that nice luxury car.
Yeah.
You notice a lot of the young guys going for those cars that they can't really afford.
Yeah.
Because she's used to, or maybe she's taught that she needs to see me with these things. So boom, one factor off the top is that we feel like we need to have the presentation to even just to get in the door.
Yeah.
In terms of feeling accepted by our woman, which is our counterpart, So that right there is a huge one, I think. And then of course, a man to another man. If you feel like if we feel like we've been kind of separated from our fathers and whatnot, all of a sudden now there's a certain kind of maybe discord, disharmony with a person you may not even know. He just may be walking down the street.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you feel like, you may say, hey, what's going on? Or maybe give a head nod. Right. But in your heart, you want to
Yeah.
You want to shake his hand. You want to conversate. You want to build. But there's this fear of maybe rejection.
Yeah.
So just to summarize, not feeling good enough. Maybe feeling like, we can, like a shame.
Yeah.
Which then leads into a rejection.
Yeah.
And of course, we look around for the symbols, for the examples of, those who aren't confined to that kind of feeling and that kind of identity, and you don't really find much. And then when you do, it's like they may be battling their own thing too.
Yeah, so we're all battling our own thing, right?
Own thing, yeah. So then it's like, what standpoint am I going to use to actually feel like I'm better? Is it going to be clothes and a car? Is it going to be more books and more knowledge?
Yeah.
Like, how do I feel, right?
Yeah. This week, I was learning from someone because I'm actually shifting my practice because I actually want to have more impact. And you can't do the one-on-one and have the massive impact that I want. So I'm shifting over to online kind of coaching program. And in the process of doing that, it's been interesting, the emotions that I've had to deal with as I try to build it, So as I try to build it, someone asked me the question, what is it that you're trying to build? And I described it. And then the person asked me, so where do you feel stuck, right? And then I had to think about all of the statements that I was saying in my head that I would never say out loud. And it was all, well, can I possibly impact at that level? Do I actually deserve to impact at that level? Am I worthy of impacting at that level? And so there's always this tendency to even if you know your value on some level, there's this tendency to kind of pull yourself down and say, I'm not worthy. And the other part is, of course, you're constantly comparing yourself to the other, so they do it better. They've done it longer. They know more than me. And you put yourself into all of those spaces. And then you begin to say, well, I'm not good enough. Like, I can't possibly do it. And some of us get so trapped in that. And I know it's part of my pattern is I have to do it with somebody else, right? So if I do it with somebody else, then I'll launch and I'll do well. But if I can't possibly do it on my own, And so all of these and so many more, I think, are parts of the things that the psyche of the African, the Black person, the Caribbean person, it's part of our psyche. And it's not that white people don't struggle with these things, because I think these are just a human conditioning. But I think the thing that is happening with that population is they're actually elevated with the news, with the ways that they're taught. They're elevated to believe a message about themselves, where we're told to believe a message in the opposite direction, and we're all struggling, right? But at the same time, we're going to have to figure out as a nation, hey, where exactly am I most afraid? And what stops me from connecting with my brother? What stops me from connecting with my sister? What stops me from connecting with this man, this beautiful man that is walking down the road, and yet I can't even say, hey, how are you today? And be in that place where it's freeing, it's connecting, it's lovely, right? It's peaceful, right? So I think we have a lot of work to do. And I have one more question for you, like, what is it that you feel you're here to build? What is the thing that you are here to build to, in a lot of ways, transform not only humanity, but more specifically, the person of African descent?
What I feel like I'm here to build is connected to what I'm trying to even change in myself, which is my self identity, or how I see myself. And it has a lot to do with the color of my skin.
Yeah.
Right? Because, going back into my childhood, you hear a lot of things, hear a lot of kids teasing you for the color of your skin, right? You hear, even in the language of, the word black, like, when you really think about it, the word black is kind of synonymous with the word Voldemort in the Harry Potter series.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a comfort when you hear it. I mean, what I've noticed with people.
Yeah.
So if the majority don't feel comfortable saying this word, then how am I going to identify with this word?
Right.
And if I have identified with this word, which I have, through my own through conditioning, then there's a level of shame, or there's a level of, rejection that I'm even having with my own self.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, I want to help to rewrite whatever it means to be an African. Sometimes I even struggle in terms of, okay, this African Caribbean man, or African American, or if I just want to say black, black. But all these things don't matter, because it's not going to be the word which is going to replace us to where we feel respected in ourselves.
Yeah.
So, what I'd like to share with you, actually, I have a short little poem, actually, that answers that question.
Oh, I love your poems, Jeffrey.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't even know, I didn't know the poem would connect, but in my mind I said, you know what, maybe it would. And you asked that question. So the poem is called I Am African, right? So it goes like this. I am not black, the absence of light. I am a soul housed in a body with brown skin that attracts the light. I am not defined by a color or nation. This body came from the continent, but originates from the cosmic vibration. Calling me black, they assume me to be lacking the light of consciousness. Using linguistic mind hacking, they use words like white and black to mean good and bad. Creating hate and self-hate, a two-sided psychological attack, a global mental trap. I am not black, I am all frequencies rippling in cosmic awareness now. I am African. I
Woo!
am the crystallized sound from the Creator. Can you feel me in gospel, R&B, and jazz? Can you hear my pulse in the drum beat or in the beatbox? Can you recognize me in all music? I am not black, the absence of light. I am African. I am spirit, the essence of light. Yeah.
Wow.
So what I want to do, or what I want to help do in myself and in the community, is to reestablish our identity as, as light. And that sometimes seems like a far stretch or too metaphysical, but at least reestablish our identity as children of Africa, children of a land that has a history, a strength, a love, right? Supreme love and a supreme willpower to go through adversity. So yeah.
Wow. There's one line in that poem, and I want you to say it again. It was about being all frequencies. Say that line again for me.
Yes. I am all frequencies rippling in cosmic awareness now.
Woo! I mean, that just says it all, because we are energetic beings and we vibrate at frequencies, and at the lowest frequencies are all fears, so whether it's shame, whether it's blame or anger or rage or hate or just judgment and criticism, and even I feel my body already, like, as I think about all of those, I feel my body resonating lower, right? But then the threshold for moving above that is always gratitude and forgiveness and love. And then if you go into all of those things, we call them the fruits of the spirit. If you go into the place of patience and kindness and humility, right? And if you go into the place of just love and joy and peace, like peace is like this level, and then the I am, and then it is, right? And I is, all of that. You're just resonating at the highest level. And again, as I say that, my energetic vibration is going up, and I feel it even in my body, And so as you build, and as you, one of the things we have to do is almost figure out our own journey to identity first, before we can then teach others how to go that road. So I am wishing you and sending you just such good vibes at the highest level of peace and love, so that as you go forth and you do this, you will do it, and you will be able to have a whole train of people follow you. So if I'm to come into agreement with something that you're desiring, as you even begin to think about building this, what would you like me to come into agreement about?
So something I desire?
Yeah, it could be. Is it like, think of it as, when I say coming into agreement, if 2 or 3 are gathered together, right, and they come into agreement about one thing, it is so. So what is it that, as you build, or even just in general in life right now, what is it that you're desiring?
Okay. Oh yes, I have certain key desires that I feel is necessary in due time.
Yes.
One is I want to definitely be more courageous in what I'm doing.
Yes.
In business, in voicing myself, in
Yes.
asserting myself. Definitely want to be more courageous. And
Yes.
I also want to be more humble.
Yes.
And they both kind of tie in together. I want to be able to not base my confidence in what I'm able to maybe get across.
Yeah.
But just being simple in myself.
Yeah. Right.
So humility, courage, and definitely more can I say more self-control.
Yeah.
More self-control to really do the things that I know will actually help me get to that place.
Yes, the discipline, right?
Yeah, that's the word.
It's the discipline to, and you do need courage to be disciplined, right? And you do need courage to be humble, because I think humility is one of the most courageous places that we can stand, because to be truly humble is to say that I am neither higher nor lower than you, And I'm going to stand in the position that only I can stand in. And not only am I going to stand in it, but I'm also going to shine. Like I'm going to shine as bright as I can shine. And I'm not going to feel bad for it, right? And I don't need to make you feel bad for it. And it takes a lot of courage to stand in that place. This morning I was doing a meditation, and for some reason, like I'm a good visualizer. And so for some reason, as I was trying to kind of cast out this thing that I wanted for the future, a tiger showed up in my vision. And the tiger was so friendly, just kind of came. And you know how tigers can put their paws up, right? And I had my hand like this, just kind of open. And the tiger just placed its paws like right in my hand. And as I was holding the tiger's paws, it was like it was gifting me the courage, and it was gifting me the strength, that silent strength, that comes with the tiger. And so I received it, and it was kind of like this golden light that only the golden color of the tiger can like purse through. It just kind of went through my veins and went through my entire body. And I was just like, thank you. Thank you for the strength and the courage that you just offered me in this moment. I wasn't even calling on a tiger, but obviously my spirit knows that is what I need at this moment. And so I'm going to pray with you, and I'm going to ask that the strength of the lion, the strength of the tiger, the humility of the lion, and the humility of the tiger comes to you now. Father, we thank you for this wonderful interview. We thank you for Jeffrey and the life that he has lived, for every experience that he has had that has turned him and his focus zoomed towards finishing the race of discovering his true identity, and then being able to turn and look at our entire nation of melanated people, whether they are in Africa, in the Americas, in the South Americas, in the Caribbean, in the European, and amongst the European nations. Father, we thank you for the gifting that you have given him. And we ask that you strengthen him as he pursues this thing that he is to build among us, and as he calls in his tribe so that they will benefit from all the knowledge that he has gathered. May you continue to support him in every way, shape, and form. May you give him now the gift of humility so that he becomes like a child, forgiving and hopeful, trusting in all his ways in you, aligning his will completely with your will for him. May you strengthen him with the courage of your Holy Spirit. May you pour into him now all the wisdom that he needs. May you guide him in the path that he should walk. May he have the strength to continue to walk it day by day. May you strengthen him as a father, as a husband, as the one who can be the example of how to just feel worthy, how to accept oneself, how to love oneself, how to cherish oneself. These things we pray knowing it is already so. Father, thank you that it is already so. Amen.
Amen.
Jeffrey, I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for being with me today, for being so vulnerable, for just speaking so authentically and with such wisdom about our experiences, our life, and the things that we're about to do.
You're very, very welcome. And thank you for the prayer. I feel better, Yeah, I feel that. I think that prayer right there is the payment.
Many, many blessings as you go. So, hey, audience, we thank you for listening today. We thank you for joining us. And I pray and I ask that you just take in from this talk everything and anything that will help you to now step into your place as that builder, as that thought leader, as that world changer. Use your story to shift our experience, to influence, and to speak to your tribe. Until next time, this is Dr. Joan with Hey, I'm Listening.